Jason asked me to give this presentation. I am not a paid staffer with Friends. I'm actually a volunteer. I'm a volunteer with the Century Branch. And my favorite branch manager at the Century Branch is sitting with us today, Carol. Give a little wave, Carol. Thank you for joining us. Carol took a day off of work. Thank you. Thank you. That means a lot. So I'm excited to be here. I like to keep things action-packed. I like to keep it interactive. And the goal today, if there's one, it's very simple. I don't expect everybody to write down everything and implement everything today. Take that one thing, right? Take that one thing that you hear today and embrace something from this membership concept, right? Because we know we're not alone, right? Century Branch, we constantly talk about membership. Phoenix Friends, we constantly talk about membership, and I'm sure it happens in your own branch or community, etc., right? We're not alone in this. So take one thing, write it down, start to wrap your head around it, and try to implement it when you get back, right? Just so you guys know, we're being videotaped in here. Pressure for me. That's also going to be on the web, right? So they're going to repeat that website at the end of our meeting today, and you'll be able to access that. So if you want to share this with somebody else in your branch or your community, great way to do that. And just, you don't have to memorize everything. But I encourage you to take notes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot the rest of these back. I'm just going to kind of hand a set right and left. If you could just weave these around. This is a copy of the slides that I'm going to go over today. Right? One of the things that we picked up from our first session was that a great member benefit is exclusivity. Have you ever found that? That sometimes members like to know that, hey, we're the only ones getting into the sale the first time, right? The first people in the door are members. So consider this your exclusive access to my slide. Right? And it's a member benefit. Okay, so we're going to get started with the agenda. Next slide, please. 6 things on the agenda. We're just going to zip right through them. We've got 40 minutes approximately together. But if we miss a couple things because we're being interactive, great. That's great with me. So feel free to shoot a hand up or feel free to just blurt out. I like that too. So we're going to go through membership drivers. We're going to hit some do's and don'ts that we've seen work, right, in the past. We're going to talk about technology, and I am going to spend a few minutes on that specifically. I'll make sure we dive into that by quite a bit. We're going to talk about some successes and challenges that we've had here, specifically at the Phoenix Friends. But I'd love to hear back from the group also during that segment, which is what things that you tried to promote membership in your own group, right? We're going to have an open forum. From my first session, I found that this open forum part kind of happened along the way. Perfect, right? So if you feel the need to jump in, please do. And then we'll have some Q&A maybe at the tail end. All right, let's go to that next slide. So let's talk about membership drivers. Why do ordinary people sign up to be members of any organization? Can somebody tell me some things that why people sign up to be members of any organization? Dan?
They're interested in what that organization stands for or is trying to accomplish.
They're interested in what that organization stands for or is trying to accomplish. Check. Absolutely. What are some other reasons? Want to feel part of the community, right? What other reasons? Why do people
Social
and social. I call that fellowship, right? There's some sort of social connection, or there's something just so drawing about being in a group. Tony.
Somebody asks them.
Hey, there you go. Somebody, a friend that you respect and trust and you're connected with says, hey, I'm in this group. I think you should be in this group. And they say, yes. I would love to do that because we have similarities outside of something like that and I'd like to be a part of that, right? Let's be honest. There's like, oh, what was it? Benefits. Okay, that's where I was going to go. Benefits like what?
Could be exclusivity or...
Exclusivity, I talked about that before. Recognition, right?
Discount.
First day sales entry, discounts, right? Let's get more. Yeah.
Saving the library.
Saving the library,
Get
right?
you out of the house.
Get you out of the house. I love this. We're not going to leave this slide for 40 minutes. But let's talk even more tangible. I've had people sign up for a t-shirt. Isn't that crazy? Right? So it could be to be part of a group because somebody asked for pride, for exclusivity or whatever. It could be for a t-shirt, a bookmark. It could be whatever it's going to be. We're all different. Every one of us in here are programmed differently. And I bet, I'd be willing to bet, there's probably a majority of the reason in this room why people became friends and we're sitting here, the friends that are specifically sitting here. But there's probably half a dozen, if not a dozen different reasons, right? My reason, I'm going to share it with you, my reason for becoming a friend, right, was my branch was Mesquite. For anybody that's here in Phoenix, Mesquite is in North Phoenix, right? And I'm a Phoenician. I was born here. So I grew up in that branch, right? I remember digging through the card catalog. Weird. I just loved that, right? There was something about that, right?
I miss it.
The what? I miss it.
Oh,
Yeah. And there's something about it now that I just have this great memory, right? Okay, flash forward. I left Phoenix, left for 10 years. I moved to the big city of Flagstaff, right? One of my favorite cities of all time. I left. Anybody here from Flagstaff? All right. Excellent. Go Lumberjacks, alma mater. Okay, so I left Flagstaff, right? I was there for 10 years. I came back to Phoenix. When I moved back to Phoenix, I moved to Central Phoenix, right? Love Central Phoenix. It's my favorite place on the planet, right? Every day, Monday through Friday, I drove by Highland. Every day, twice, drove by the Century Branch, right? What memory do you think I thought about every time I drove by the Century Branch? Mesquite Library. Every time I thought about that memory about Mesquite Library, and I thought specifically about the card catalog. Weird. I admit it. It's totally weird, right? And then one day, after 6 months of driving by the Century Branch 2 times a day, right, 5 days a week, I stopped, pulled into the parking lot, walked in, and I wanted to know how I could be part of whatever was going on at the library. You know what the branch manager at that time told me? Friends. You need to be part of Friends. I had no idea what Friends was. I didn't know they were an advocacy group. I didn't know I was going to get a t-shirt, right? All I wanted to do was foster the memory of the card catalog. Weird. That wasn't one of the things that we just said why people become members, right? But that's why I did it. We're all different, right? We just need to find those things that turn people from not being a friend into a friend. Sometimes it's information, sometimes it's something free, sometimes it's part of being a group, whatever it is, right? So keep an open mind when we're talking about this membership thing. It's not just handing somebody, right, the bill and saying, I want you to be a friend. We gotta find the reason that resonates with them. Okay, so that's definitely a driver. There is a psychology to that. And we're not alone. I was telling all of us that we're not alone because we're obviously not alone. We're here. Many, many cities around the state of Arizona are represented in this room right now. 23 to be exact here at the conference today. Awesome. Next slide, please. But guess what? The friends aren't even alone. We all have membership questions, right? It doesn't matter if you're the Harley Owners Group, right? If you're the Desert Botanical Garden, if you're another nonprofit, if you're the Red Hat Society, we all have, right, a need to get more membership, right? But we have to understand there's similarities here. There's reasons why people become a HOG member. By the way, that's politically correct, right? Because that's HOG, Harley Owners Group, right? There's a reason for that. There's similarities that they share, or a passion, and they tap into that, and they appeal to that, right? So be thinking bigger than just friends. Be thinking more of the psychology of membership when you're thinking about membership, right? It's not just friends. We're not just alone. All right, let's go to the next slide. So membership dues, right? And I'm not saying dues like the money part, but do's and don'ts. We'll get to the do's in a minute, right? Membership dues. One of my friends is Terry Gilbert. Some people that are in Phoenix, she's actually a KFYI news person, talk radio type thing, right? She talks about a lot of the current events. She's one of my friends, and outside of friends, I was talking to her one day about, okay, let's be honest, I was talking to her about how do we get friends in the news, right? So here was the scoop. I said, how do you get a news story? How do I get a friend of mine, Terry Gilbert, to get on KFYI and talk about what are some great things that are happening with the friends? And she's like, Clay, take it one step back. Any news story has to have, and this is why I put it in quotes, the hook, right? We all know what this is, right? We flip the channels. Tune in at 5 o'clock tonight to see why the kids down your street are causing havoc and tearing up the neighborhood. And you're like, my street? I gotta tune in at 5, right? The hook. So we've gotta have something that gets people from no action, right, to action. We gotta have something. The magic is finding out what that something is. It's gonna be different for many of our groups, right? Even between cities. Phoenix is different than Tucson, right? Is different than Wilcox, is different than Kingman, et cetera, so on and so forth. But there are some similarities, and we have to either find the similarities or we have to be honest and say what are the differences and how can we find the hook, right, for that individual person or resonate with a group of people that we can bring on board, right? City, region, state opportunities. We are in this together, right? Just like when I showed you the Harley Owners Group, right? They are in this together, although there's regionally different groups that ride motorcycles together, right? Much like there are regionally different areas of friends here, I think what's also important is that those members, even our existing members, we need to let them know they're not alone. It's not that Scottsdale is alone on the planet of Friends library support, right? We need to let all these other members or potential members know this is bigger. This is a national thing. There are libraries all over this country. Now, I already told you I was born here. You guys already know that about me. Who else was born in Phoenix? Okay, a couple, 2, 3, 4. All right! Local Phoenicians. Okay. Who wasn't born here? That's everybody else! Right? But you're all part of the Friends group in Arizona, right? Or who wasn't born in Arizona? You have a story about a library from some time that didn't happen in Arizona. Am I right? Mm-hmm. Yep. Right? I like Linda. Linda's like, no, because I was born here. Oh no, so we don't have any other library stories. Oh my gosh. Well, then you didn't like libraries, and that's a whole other story.
I didn't dislike them.
Right.
I just didn't know them.
But the take is, right, the takeaway from that is, it's not just about your current city. It's about tapping into all those other stories around the country, right? And tapping into that history or tapping into that emotion, right? So we're not alone, and it's good to work together like we're doing here today. I have found this to be extremely powerful in the couple hours that we've been together, right? So kind of keep that in mind and be able to communicate that to potential new members, right? Which is they will have the ability to visit other chapters, right? Go to exclusive functions like this, right? There's a lot of these benefits. The what? Network, right? Meeting other people. So I encourage you to even tell this story when you go back to your home base. Is say, hey, you know what? I want to spend 5 minutes at our next meeting. I want to share with everybody what I learned at the conference. Wow, that resonates through those members, and they tell other members, right? So use the fact that you're not alone. Be able to use that. That's a good do, right? The next one, I know many of you are overachievers. You already read through all the bullet points, right? What's the third one? Survey your existing members, okay? Survey your existing members. It sounds kind of cliche, but it's actually super effective. Okay, quick commercial. I have borrowed a great book, right? And I encourage you to find this book and maybe even make it that book, right, that you use consistently in your chapter. The name of the book is Even More Great Ideas for Libraries and Friends. Guess what? This is a book directly published, printed, organized, executed by Friends of the United States of America, right? The large organization, which Alexis is now called
ALTAF?
ALTAF.
I think. Yeah.
I like that. I don't know what that means, but here's the scoop, right? I'm going to give you the 2 authors, and I'm going to leave this book up here, and then I'm going to reference a couple things from it. One of the authors is Sally Gardner Reed, R-E-E-D. Second one is Beth. I murdered this in the first session.
Nolinsky.
Nolinsky. Thank you, Dan Cook, in the front row. Nolinsky, N-A-W-A-L-I-N-S-K-I. Yes, Dan.
Both of those ladies are frequent contributors to the website, Falusa.com.
Falusa, which is Friends of the Library USA, which I think is now
The ALTAF, yeah.
ALTAF.
But
I think they still have a
They
listserv,
still
which
have the
is.
website,
Mhm.
and they promote both organizations.
You got
Okay,
it.
so Friends of the Library USA website, which you can, I believe, purchase these books from directly, right? And I think there's the first copy, which you might be able to take a peek at
Yeah,
at
we've
Alexis'
got, yeah,
house
we've
here
got the first edition you
at
can
the
borrow.
Phoenix Friends. I will leave this up front if you want to write the ISB down, etc. after this meeting. And if you act now, yes, this is the fun part. Okay?
I want the knives.
If anybody, this is a brief aside because I love taking tangents, right? If anybody has their 3-ring binder with them, right? Hopefully most of you do. If you go to the back, you probably remember from your first session, there was a review sheet in the back, right? Please have that handy. It's obviously confidential. I'm not going to hunt you down, right? Whatever you would like to put on there. But most importantly, it will get you a raffle ticket, which I'm sure you got from the first session. Oh my gosh. Oh, I see. Guilty party, right? We've got raffle tickets. If you fill out this survey about our presentation here at membership, guess which book you might be able to win? You act now. Right? Okay, so keep that handy. Keep that little survey handy. And I will reference this book just on a couple of occasions as we go through the rest of the presentation, right? One of those times I'm going to reference the book is right now. Serving your members, right? when I looked at this book originally, I went back here and I looked up Friends membership, right? There's about a 50-page swath of information about Friends membership, right? One of those pages, it happens to be, I think, the first 2 or 3 pages, is about surveying your members. It has sample surveys in there, right? Guys, I run a business, I have 13 staffers, right? And I think some of my best ideas I've stolen, right? Steal from this book. I know that sounds strange, right? I don't want to use a verb that doesn't sound correct for our organization, but really, use these best ideas. These are tried and true, battle-tested ideas, right? Has anybody in this group, besides Alexis, you can't answer this question, has anybody else surveyed their existing members on why they became members? On what benefits they would like to have? On what would help them communicate the message to their friends, neighbors, colleagues? Right? Could you imagine that? What if you had one of the gals in our last class, Fountain Hills, Cynthia, 185 members in the Fountain Hills Friends group. What if she knew that 142 of them wanted to have a members-only sale? Do you think she would implement that? Yeah. You would. Hands down. You wouldn't even bat an eye, right? But sometimes we don't know, okay? And I'm going to get to the don'ts in a second, but don't do that slide yet, right? There's things you don't want to do. You don't, right? I'm not going to get to that here in just a moment. But one of the things I would encourage you that you do, one thing you can implement very easily, right? And you can steal it right out of this book. There's an example, I think, from a club or from a group in Minnesota, right? Because this is a national book. That's what's neat. You can kind of tap into all those resources, right? Copy the survey. Send it out, right? Or give the survey out at your members-only book sale if you have one, right? Maybe you don't want to do the postage thing. Whatever it takes, find out some of those things. It's super powerful, right? I'm going to steal Alexis's story. The group that you tapped into at ASU, which was called?
She was actually a volunteer.
Oh, volunteer.
And she was studying nonprofit management at the Lodestar Center.
Okay,
Lodestar.
Lodestar Center, ASU.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, studying for nonprofit, right, studies.
Mm-hmm.
And we tapped into her as resource. She was a volunteer.
She was.
Put together the survey.
Mm-hmm.
Distributed it. We found out the answers. Invaluable, priceless stuff.
Yeah.
Right? So another thought process is if you don't have the manpower, maybe tap into a local community college or something along that lines, university. Find some interns. Guess what? It will look prim, proper, beautiful, right? Because that's part of the mission, right? And you can give them some guidance. Use that, right? But survey is a great do. Is a really great do. Next thing on the list here, leverage other organizations. I made this vague, but has anybody in here leveraged another organization? And if you have, do we have a story? Because I've got a couple to share with you. Any thoughts? Yes.
Well, we're a small community, but we have 3 active book clubs.
Book clubs.
So we get to the book clubs, we get to those meetings, we participate with them, and we basically, have a message, and, I'm giving out brochures all the time. Because those organizations have been around longer than we have, and they obviously have a shared interest.
Yep, beautiful. Leveraging book clubs, being able to share the Friends message, perfect, right? Another idea.
Just going to say, we partner with the Humane Society. They have their major fundraiser is called Putting on the Dog, and they prepare a gift packet for everybody that attends. So we offered our book bags, because they print at the library,
Wow.
to put their gift bag in. So that's 600 book bags out there in the community.
Brilliant. And you know what happens? You don't have to have on that book bag, here's all the 30 things that we do. What are people going to do? They're going to hunt you out. They're going to go, oh, what's this, right?
We
You're
also
gonna start
drop in
to-
our membership brochure and a
perfect.
bookmark. So
There you go.
Oh my gosh, does it get any better? Right? Here's another couple yeah, go ahead, please.
In our community, there are over 150 homeowners associations. Many of them have their own little mini library. A lot of them have book clubs. And it's a huge link into the community at a very efficient level.
Excellent. So if anybody missed that, homeowners associations, some have their own libraries, direct connection, right? You can put brochures, you can donate maybe a certain group of books to that and say, hey, this section donated by Friends of the Library. Endless possibilities. Here's another couple ideas.
I was going to say Arizona Humanities.
Arizona
We bring in
Humanities.
the speakers and for free.
Perfect. Right, so you're saying a Friends member could be a speaker at another organization?
Well, no, we bring the speakers in to the
Perfect.
public to come to free in the library.
Perfect, right? So we're leveraging another organization to tell our members, hey, there's so-and-so is going to be a speaker at our
Yeah,
function.
yeah.
That doesn't necessarily have to be about books in our library,
Right.
right? And then that could be a way to team up together. That's a great idea.
Teachers organization.
Teachers organization, right? One of our favorite things at Century, right? We have this children's section, and it's like clockwork, right? Right at about August or so, all the teachers come in, boom, buy all the children's books, right? For that new, right, first grade classroom that they're just trying to refresh everything, right? Or teachers organizations to say, hey, we are the Friends. Here's some brochures. Get your students or parents or something involved. This is a great way to reach out past the school into the community, right? Or just bring them on as members. I would suspect a lot of teachers would love to do that. I'm married to one. She's a first grade teacher. Lindsay, best first grade teacher on the planet, of course. Right? And she loves that too. She shares that message with, well, guess what? They're all friends, right? They all team together and share secrets and all that good stuff. So if you get one, you'll get 6. I promise you, right? I've seen it happen time and time again. Any other great ideas? Other organizations? Here's another couple. One was shared in our last meeting. Mary shared this with us, and she said, we teamed up with our local credit union. And I was like, oh, I like where this is going. Right? Local credit union. The credit union wanted a way to do a community outreach, right, type of mechanism, right? So they teamed up with the Friends. All of the, I'm going to call them bank, but they're obviously credit union employees, became Friends. And then they shared the message of Friends with the customers. Wow. 400 new members. 400. That was the first thing I wrote down. Right. I'm like, oh, 400. Okay. So think outside of that box, right? You are going to get some no's. Be prepared for that. Don't consider it a shutdown. But take these examples that have worked and just say this. Hey, there's another organization or there's another city that has done this before. It worked great. We would love to approach your bank and be able to do the same thing. Beautiful. They get to tout the fact that they're doing community service, outreach stuff. You get 400 new members. That sounds like good math to me.
Can I throw out
Karen,
another one?
yes.
Because this is one that I'm working on with the Friends chapter here. Most people don't know that nationally, libraries have the highest number of Wi-Fi hotspots than Starbucks. And so I'm working with AT&T to try to figure out if we can do like a cell phone recycling event or something and have it be sponsored by our Friends chapter, but then get the word out in the community and people can bring in whatever phone they have and then
Donate.
become a member of it. Yeah, so we responsibly recycle and reuse phones. We bunked up with cell phones for soldiers, but there's all kinds of win-wins all the way around, and then encourage people to become Friends of members, or we may have AT&T sponsor the first 100 people that come in. They get memberships to Friends, or we're still kind of working out the details, but that's an out-of-the-box kind of
Awesome.
thing to
Perfect.
do.
Did everybody hear that? Using a phone donation program, right, with a carrier or somebody, right, and saying out to the community, we're taking your donated phones as an exchange for a membership. We will gladly make you a member, right, in that exchange. They become a member. We recycle phones, right? Voila. So we've got a kind of a complete circle of community service, recycling, right? And notice how there's a couple variables that are being connected there, whether it's the bank idea or whether that's another one of these concepts. Don't just think unilaterally. Don't just think we get members. You got to spice up the other end. There's got to be another connecting point for that other organization, specifically when we're talking about leveraging other organizations. It's got to be a win-win. Or one of my favorites is always win-win-win-win-win, right? The more wins you can get, it's always better. Yes, ma'am.
What was missed, didn't she say it was recycled and given to soldiers?
Oh yeah,
Right.
So that
That
other
to me is-
component.
It's actually
There's
a
that fifth
free-
win, right?
Yeah.
So, but you know what? You know what's really great about that is that was a big point. And notice how I didn't put it at the top.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that soldiers aren't important, but everybody's going to have a different where that hierarchy was. Some people are going to hear soldier and go. Some
Yeah.
people are going to hear recycle phone and go. Some people are going to hear something with the library and go, right? So when it's that win-win-win-win-win, you're going to get more of a gel or a connecting, right, reality to that.
I still think the personal approach is a very important part of this.
Sure.
We've got to train the members we've already got to talk to other people.
Yes.
I've given membership brochures to my dentists, my doctors. I was sitting in Barnes and Noble the other day,
Yep.
lady reading a book, and I said, "Are you familiar with our big warehouse sales?" And I gave her both items.
Yep. And by the way, Dan is guilty as charged. I also saw him give Tim, who is the speaker in the advocacy group, also becoming a member. Danny Cook, past president of the Big Friends here in Phoenix, right? But Dan's right. It's not just one avenue. That personal approach also has to happen, right? So, but Dan, I think you would also agree too. That is a big component, but we also have to know that there's other components, right? Because there are going to be some people that are like, maybe they won't respond as much to the personal touch, but they might respond with a different avenue, right? Whether it's volunteering, maybe they don't want the personal touch, they don't even want the book sales.
Some people are hesitant to talk to people.
Absolutely.
You can't depend on that alone.
Absolutely, absolutely. Phyllis,
Are you charging for these memberships?
which memberships? For our membership?
Yeah.
Yes.
How much do you charge?
I think we have a graded scale.
Yeah, it's a scale of anywhere from 20 for a senior student on up to $100 for a patron level membership, and there's even, I believe, a $500 and a $1,000, which isn't terribly popular, for sure. But I think it's mostly 25 and 50 are the most popular ones.
But here's the scoop. Alexis or Jason would love to email you, or you can get one of our brochures, right, if you want to know that graded scale, right? And
Or go on the website.
or go on the website.
For sure.
Yep.
The website, okay.
Okay.
Got it.
PL
And
Friends.
like I said before, steal it. Oh my gosh, Dan
Look,
Cook.
Dan. Dan's got it.
You practice what you preach. I love it. I love it. Okay, so, but that's, steal some of these ideas, all the way in the back.
Are you talking about library membership or friends membership?
Friends membership. Friends membership, right? Okay. And then make it easy. Did Dan make that easy?
Yeah.
Oh my. Right? It couldn't have been easier to get the answer, facilitate the knowledge, have the information, and that person can then make the decision, right? It doesn't matter, I'll be right back, it doesn't matter what organization we're talking about, or if you're buying something in a business transaction, or your Harley Owners Group, or the Red Hat Society, or whatever, right? You have somebody that's interested, you have a membership need, and there's always a gap, right? The magic is closing the gap. If we don't make it easy, we will not facilitate the step. We are a society that's falling madly in love with drive-through coffee, 1 hour photo, right, and emails to our phones. If we don't embrace that reality and don't make it easy for somebody to make the decision to become a friend, we're going to lose every time, right? We get questions like that all the time when we're talking to new members. If we don't have the immediate answers, or we don't follow through with the answers. I see that happen all the time across the board, which is, oh, hey, I will get back to you on that. How long does that mean when I say that to somebody? We all have different interpretations, right? My grandfather only ever wrote letters. No email, didn't like to talk on the phone. When he and I communicated before he passed, it was a letter, right? But I knew that he received my letter. What was my expectation for a response?
One day. One day.
Yeah, maybe one day for him to write the letter, but when would I get the letter back? Right. I mean, I had to understand. There was a perception, right? Well, that perception is quickly slipping to 1 hour, 1 minute, 1 day. It's no longer a week, right? So we have to be prepared and ready to make it easy for people that are interested to become members, right? So be prepared. Be prepared to get back with a phone call, an email, a letter, the information, a brochure, a flyer, a response of some sort to help them make that connection. And then I call it overkill with the info. If they ask for how much is a membership, you give them that amount and then you give them a stamped envelope.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you kind of do give them the next step, which is it's $20 and here's a stamped envelope to send your check back to be able to Tucson Friends at the library. I mean, whatever the case is, right? So make it easy for them to take that next step, even if you have to put a pre-stamp on there and spend the 44 cents. Trust me, it will work most of the time. Okay, I'm gonna go to the next slide just in lieu of time, right? Next slide, please. So membership don'ts. This is the secrets right here. That's why I closed the blinds so the public couldn't see the secrets about membership, right? Don't give up, don't assume, and don't give up. Right? When I was coming up with this list, I'm really big on threes. It's one of my favorite numbers, right? So I came up with don't give up first, right? It's just, membership is hard. It never stops, right? It's always going to be a thought, a question, a concern, an issue, a driving force behind what we do. So we can't give up. It is hard, right? And then I put up there, don't assume, because sometimes we're all guilty of this, and I know I'm guilty as charged. right? Which is don't assume, oh, that won't work for our branch, right? Think things through, right? Embrace change. Don't do everything. I also don't take the shotgun approach, right? But zero in on a couple things that you maybe haven't done before, right? And give them the good college try, right? Really get in there and get your sleeves rolled up and get dirty and give it a shot, right? So don't assume something's not going to work. And then while you're not assuming, don't forget to don't give up, right? So it's kind of one of those trifectas. Okay, so that's a short list of don'ts, but it's very broad and it's very specifically written out, which is don't assume that you already have all of the answers about what will and won't work. Learn, engage, find a resource like this. Do what you're doing today, right? Which is learning and engaging with other people on successes and challenges. And then don't forget to not give up, or don't give up. Yeah, double negative there. Go ahead, next slide. Okay, technology. One of my favorite subjects in regards to the evolution of membership. Who in here has an email account? Who in here has more than one? Okay, isn't that crazy? 20 years ago, we didn't have one. And many of us in this room have more than one. Okay, I remember when I signed up for my first email account. I was like, well, I don't even know what's going to happen from here, right? It's like a new address. And if I'm going to mail, now I'm going to get this electronic mail thing, right? Now it's just so whatever. It's just so passe. It is what it is, right? How many people have an iPad? Not me. 2 or 3. Wait a second. The same one that we had here.
Yeah, same, exactly.
Yeah.
I still have it.
But the scoop is, we all have email addresses, but 3 people in this room have an iPad, right? What's the bet that more than 3 of us in a year have an iPad? Yeah. What's the bet a year after that? It's going to be half the room. You see what I'm saying? Right? So don't be afraid of the change, right? And I'm not gonna say all things are great. I'm not saying all technology is great. I don't sell technology for a living, right? But the scoop is you just have to keep it in perspective. It's a tool. And for membership, right, there's something unique. There's a very unique edge to this tool, right? And I put it at the bottom, and then I'm going to double back for Ken Coburn, right? Here's the unique edge to technology, okay? I found out today, I asked Dan Cook up here in the front, right? I'm calling you now, Dan, Mr. Friends. Mr. Phoenix Friends. I asked Dan, I'm like, Dan, when did Phoenix Friends start? And he said 1977. I'm like, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool, right? 34 years ago, the Phoenix Friends chapter started. We have 900 plus members. Facebook, 18 months ago, opened up for Phoenix Friends. 695. Okay? It took us 34 years to get to and or maintain, and obviously the membership changes, etc., but get to and or maintain 900 members. 18 months, 695. They're not the same type of member. Right?
I was just going to say, are those 695 all paid members?
Oh, you are my transition. I love this group, right? Even in the first session, just transitions all over the place. That is the one unique differentiator between the group, right? One group has paid with money, U.S. currency. The other one has done what?
Affiliated.
Given us a contact.
Oh my gosh, all the answers were correct. The one answer I really didn't hear was, and I'm glad I didn't because it would be incorrect, or I would argue it would be incorrect, is nothing. It's not that this group has done nothing. They've actually given us something far beyond the importance of membership, right? One of the most important things is interest, a contact name, a desire, right? A communication point where they have committed, right? What was that?
An avenue to publicize.
An avenue to publicize, and most importantly, they have made the effort to say, yes, I like this, right? That is so powerful beyond anything that you really understand, maybe if you haven't done this yet, because when somebody says that, and it's a badge of honor for a lot of things that we like, I like motorcycles, right? That is one of my personal things, right? And I have no problem telling people about that, right? And I want people to know because guess what? You like motorcycles. I want you to tell me that you like motorcycles, and now what do we have? We have a connection. We have something in common, which was what you all told me was one of the reasons why psychologically people become part of something, right? So it's that act that's very powerful. And now we have an audience of 695 people that we can share our friend's message with And what are we then, like, we're 90% of the way to what? Membership. We're 90% of the way there. They've already told us that something about this library, right, group, this friends group, they like. There's something that they feel a connection with, right? So we can call it Facebook, we can call it Twitter, we can call it email address, we can call it a website, right? It manifests itself in different ways as technology evolves, but I would encourage you to start thinking about Facebook as that newer edge, right? And put it in perspective of how you felt about email 5 years ago. Oh, I don't know if I need to do that. I said that 10 or 15 years ago. But now it works. It's a tool. It's not the end all. I don't do all my relationships on email, right? Just like not all these people on Facebook are going to be all of the members of Friends. It's one avenue. I love how Dan said, but there is an avenue of personal touch, right? That might be a different group of people. That's okay. The goal is more members, is growing that understanding and that participation, right? Okay, so let's do this. I'm going to do two things from here with technology. One, I'm going to show you the Phoenix Friends website and Facebook page and point out a couple things, right? And then we're going to talk about some data that I, again, stole from Ken Coburn, right? I met Ken Coburn. He is the CEO and president of Data Doctors. If anybody has heard of that company before, very large presence here, regionally and locally in Phoenix. CEO and president, he shared with me some great empirical data that I want to share with you guys, right? It's also in the notes that I gave you. So first, next slide, please. This is the Friends of the Phoenix Public Library Facebook page. Notice a couple things just to kind of walk the layout. If you haven't seen a Facebook page before, top left corner, you can see our profile image, right, which is a nice big heart that says Friends of the Library, like love your library, right? And then very prominently displayed right down here, which it always is, right, on anybody's Facebook page, is how many people have made that commitment to say, there's something about this that I really like, right? It's a badge of honor, right, or whatever the case might be. 695 people. Are some of those people in that group of 900 plus? Yeah, sure. I'm one of those people. I'm a paying member, and I'm also, right, on that list of 695. But we know that there's some people that aren't both. So that's that new avenue that we can communicate to, right? And then there's lots of great things on this page. You'll notice that there's some posts, and this is how Facebook communicates. This is the friends saying, hey, friends of the Phoenix Public Library, looking for something to do tonight? Swing by Burton Bar or Mesquite Library. We are now open till 9 p.m. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. 695 people got that message right that moment. That's pretty powerful, right? 695 people that said they liked this. They're engaged to like this. This isn't just a spam email. They said they like this. They got the note. Pretty effective, right? What's this one? Can somebody read this for me? Last chance for early bird registration 2011 Friends Conference. We're sitting here right now. 695 people know that we're sitting here right now. That's kind of neat, right? And if they didn't know that the Friends Conference was happening, they could then say, oh, that's what's coming up with the Friends of the Library. Maybe I should check that out. Now, I'm not proposing 5 people even in this room came because of this, right? But it's the communication chain that I think is important, right? We're always talking about, at our club, should we send out a postcard? And what does that postcard say? There's any number of ways people like to be communicated with. This is just one avenue. It is less of the avenue Dan and I were talking about up here with the personal touch, but it speaks to, right, a different segment of the media membership that we haven't really quite grabbed a hold of quite yet. All right, next page, next slide for me. This is one of my favorite areas, but you'll notice up at the top here, it's kind of like a web page where you'll have little different sections or tabs you can click on. This is the events tab, right? Now I asked the last group, and I'm going to do the very same thing here right now. What do you notice about, give me some of the responses or about the details about this page and the information. What do you notice?
Lots of white space.
Okay, pictures, white space. What else do you notice about maybe the content?
Members only.
What was that?
Members only.
Ah, members only. What else?
Email sign up.
Email sign up. Really good, right? What else is it saying though underneath? What's the message underneath? Don't read the words itself. But if somebody says, I think like
Yes.
they're selling books. And what else does it say? They're doing something.
They're busy, yeah.
They're busy. There's actually something happening, right? Guess what? When people are thinking about becoming part of an organization, if you're not doing something,
Be dynamic.
right,
Yeah.
there might not be enough to hold on to, right? There might not be enough to hold on to. Now, somebody said in the last meeting, well, it's a little bit outdated. And that is part of it. You gotta have that conversation, which is, it does need to be current, but at least what does it say? We did those things. We did that. And it's consistent. Sale, 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 sale. We sell books. It's a consistent message, and those things are real, and we did them. Right? So there is something there. In the back?
How would you compare this to keeping a blog where you could also advertise the same thing?
Yeah, absolutely. So blog, right? Blog, if anybody hasn't heard this word, it's more or less a message board, right, that you would type into on a very consistent basis. I think of it kind of like a newspaper column, right? Think about that. More or less on a instantaneous basis, right? I could have a blog like a newspaper column. It could say the Clay Jansen blog, and I could post something and it would be live. I wouldn't have to wait for the publisher to print it to distribute it, right? So it can be very effective in that manner. The way I think about a blog in that chain of events, right? Email, website, right? Website is live 24/7, where email is kind of like you have to send out the message and then it kind of dies, right? There's a shelf life to that. Website kind of lives on 24/7, right? 7 days a week. But it's not easy to update necessarily, right? And then you kind of have, some would argue, then you kind of have this Facebook idea, which is a little bit more live or alive than a website, because you're posting and you're interacting. There's an interaction mechanism, where website's not really interactive. It's more,
link the blog into the website.
right. The website is more giving information, and Facebook is a two-way street, right? Where your friends can post, you can post back, right? There's a communication interaction. And then kind of the blog, the way I see it, is it's kind of a little bit of a blend of a few things, but it is really live in terms of an information stream that you can always tie back, kind of like a newspaper article. You can kind of tie that back to the newspaper itself, right? And you can say, okay, this is more of the personal, updating, editorial information, and the website becomes more of the factual, whatever we want to call it. Who thinks a commitment on a blog, from what the limited information I've told you, that is really a commitment of time? Because if you blog once and don't blog for 3 months, nobody's coming back. What are they going to say? Just like that newspaper article or that editorial column. Why do people read editorials? What's the hook? They're consistent. It's like one author, most often, that you get really excited about, and you come back week after week after week after week, and it's consistent. I had one of my favorite editorial folks was Matthew Clements in the Wall Street Journal, right? When he left, I was upset, right? I was furious, right? That's kind of like the blog. If it's not consistently happening, you're actually going to, I would argue, you might lose ground, right? Where Facebook does have a part of that component, you do have to have something committed to it. But don't you have to with your email?
Well, you also want people to help you with Facebook.
Oh, beautiful. Just like your website, right? And a great comment that was made in our last meeting by Cynthia was, man, I just feel like this might be a lot of commitment. This might be a lot of time commitment. And I said, do you have a website? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, do you keep it up to date? She's like, yeah. I'm like, if you've got a website and you keep it relatively up to date, maybe this is the same person. And we just flip that responsibility, right? We share that responsibility with them. Or maybe it's that intern that you're going to get to do the survey, right? Because they're already on it doing their personal stuff. Just say, hey, if you can just type on our, Facebook site for 5 minutes tonight when you're doing your own site anyway, your own Facebook thing, if you could put these things on here. Another great idea from the last group was delegate it once a week, right? Alexis was even telling us it's not even one person at the Phoenix Friends that does it. They share it.
Yep.
So 1 week, 1 week, 1 week, 1 week, so nobody ever feels overwhelmed. But it doesn't have to be every day. It doesn't have to be every hour. It's not like that, right? But it's a way that you can communicate in an open setting and share information. And it comes back to you. It's not just a one-way thing. You get the responses, right? People can say, yeah, I like this, or yeah, I'm coming, or RSVP me, or, right? It's very interactive that way. It's a very powerful mechanism. Okay, next slide. I'm going to talk a little bit about Ken Coburn and some of the empirical data that I think is very telling. So Ken, go ahead and go to the next slide. Ken is the CEO. I'm going to skip over some of this just kind of in lieu of time. Next slide. This is one of my favorite charts right here, right? Social media myth age groups. I'm a numbers guy. I'm a numbers nerd. I'm a science geek, right? And there's something about this chart. I love all charts. Here's the chart guy, right? The 3 biggest bars on this chart. I'm going to ask you a rhetorical question. Are these not the age groups that we would love to have be Friends members? Wait a second. So what we're saying is these 3 bars make up the largest proportion of this graph. We would love them as Friends members because they are the future, they are the current members we would like, they are the future members we would like our organization to grow with, they're the legislators, they're the people that might be the movers and shakers in our community, I'm not saying that the other groups aren't as important. I'm just challenging you to don't assume, right? And open up that thought process of saying, who else can we tell about Friends that might not know? Because we can tell any number of groups. We can have the personal end, we can have this group, we can have that group, we want the people that want to buy books, we have the people that want to volunteer. Open it up and say, what segment are we missing? This might be one of them, and this might be the way that you can start that communication chain. Right? We don't want to fight something that's obviously coming headstrong with iPads, not just emails, right? So this group, 25 to 55, that is the biggest segment on these types of cutting, and I don't want to say cutting edge, it's really not even cutting edge anymore, right? Cutting edge is this cloud thing. I don't even know what that is. Right? I feel like I'm just one step back from the edge. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
Well, just one observation. That's also the segment of the population that has the most, generally, most time demands and conflicts in their lives. So you have to approach them understanding that.
Yes.
You're going to get anything from them.
I agree. So the comment was, is it Al?
Yeah.
The comment from Al was, this is also the segment that is very time constrained. Is that way a good segment to say, isn't that? But having time constraints means you also have to communicate on the path that is the least resistance for them, right? Which is the easiest way from a time constraint perspective, right? Sending them a letter, handwritten, is not going to be effective. Trust me, right? But sending them a little Facebook post that they can tune into at 2 a.m. on their time, they will hear the message, right? They will hear the message. Let me come back. Did you have a question from before? And I'm sorry, I probably skipped over it.
That's perfectly all right.
Okay.
I was just wondering if I'm understanding correctly, and Mr. Blair was talking about, are you able to somehow give a membership to someone as opposed to them paying for it? I mean, it sounded like they weren't going to, if you were giving them, if they put in so many hours or did whatever, that you were going to give the membership. Is that?
Was this with the phones and how we were going to do the trade
Right,
of the phones?
yeah, okay.
If AT&T paid for it, you said.
Right, I mean, there would be sort of a sponsorship, you know, if they were to come in with a phone, then AT&T would just defray the cost of the membership on their behalf if they brought in a phone.
Oh, okay, you're saying.
So there's a
some for
sponsor,
their-
yes, so there is a financial,
AT&T would be giving their good, right, community service efforts and saying, we will
Right.
give back to the community, you bring us the phone, we recycle it, we give you a membership.
give you a gift membership.
Okay.
yeah,
Win,
right.
win, win, win.
Right, right.
Yeah, very
It's
good.
all
And thanks
valuable for
doing
everybody
my
involved.
apologies. This little ditty here, right, looks like a rainbow to me, right? But here's the scoop. On the left-hand side, these are all the individual different social networking types of places that people can land. You might notice some of the names. I don't even know what all these things are, right? But Facebook is about in the middle, MySpace is up at the top. LinkedIn is one for professionals. So Al, when we're talking about maybe that professional group, this is a social networking. They plug it as a way that professionals can link up to each other, right? So any one of these avenues, and I would challenge you, Facebook might be a good place to start. But if you find any one of these, this is also the segment of the groups of ages. Blue being 0 to 17, red being 65 plus. Notice Facebook, the one thing that stands out to me, notice this segment of Facebook is 55 to 65. Notice its size compared to the other age groups. Isn't that strange? It's kind of a nice distribution, right? 55. The what?
It's more even.
Yeah, it's kind of even up past all of the different segments. But there's a reason why it's more even. Can you click to the next slide for me? Here's the reason. It's the third largest country in the world now. Why are we not tapping into this? Right? It starts with just them saying, yes, there's something about your group that I like. Right? And it's just opening the channel. Because if we can get to, I'm not proposing that we're going to get 500 million members, but if we can get 25, a fraction of this total population, that's the whole idea. It's just that open line of communication and helping them, making it easy to make the next step, right? Go ahead, next slide. We're going to get wrapped up here, guys. Go to the next slide. I should have put, so what would we do, Clay? But I stole this from Ken. I stole this directly from Ken. Right? Whatever you do, don't do this. Don't assume. Don't say to yourself, this will never work for our city, our town, or the place where we live, or whatever. Right? You might actually find that that segment, even the 55 to 65 group, is going to go, oh, hey, that's neat. And I shared this with my friends. Because once you click it, guess what your friends then see? Oh, hey, right? Phyllis likes the Friends. Maybe I should ask her about that. Why does she like that? What is that? So you actually are starting kind of that web of connections, right? Very powerful. We actually brought that up earlier. Tony, I think, said that, which is you might join something because a friend of yours joined, right? Go ahead and next slide here.
Yeah.
Okay. If you feel like contacting Ken Coburn, I graciously plug him, right? Data Doctors, etc. If he can help you set up the fan page or whatever, I'm sure he would love to help you. Also, I would encourage you, before you reach out to Ken, maybe reach out to Alexis and Jason here at the Big Friends, right? And just say, hey, can you give us 2 or 3 pointers?
There's actually something in your notebooks about it.
Oh yeah, brilliant. Oh, there is. That's
Yeah.
right.
Mhm.
Oh, thank you for saying that. I
Yeah.
forgot that in the last session.
For sure.
A couple pages in on the